For a time, we tried to contact him by radio, but no response.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 12 of the Dumb Marks podcast. This week's episode is brought to you via Zoom, since that bitch COVID came through. And we have new recommendation of a stay-at-home order here in Pittsburgh, where we're recording. So nice to see you guys via video Zoom chat. How's everybody doing?
Doing well.
Pretty good.
Doing good. Welcome back, Donald and Jason, for another episode.
Yep, we brought the brothers of chocolate back to do a run in on this episode's podcast.
I mean, I think they're the brothers of destruction, seeing as the Undertaker's, final farewell is this weekend.
Right. We'll see if it's a final farewell. Who knows? But that we can get into that later on. So, everybody's week go okay, good, getting ready for Thanksgiving and excited for all that shenanigans that's going to be upcoming with that festive holiday.
We shall see, given the circumstances.
Given the circumstances, right? Yeah. There's I guess COVID came out and canceled all holiday plans for everybody this year. So no, not supposed to have family gatherings and everything else. I understand it. Stay safe. We got to get around. Got to turn the corner on this at some point in time. So yeah, I know myself. I'm ready for Thanksgiving on my end. That's my favorite holiday. Chris, I know we touched on this last night, but I'll throw the question back to you and then to Donald and Jason. What are your Thanksgiving Day plans? Are you, as far as like eating goes, are you fast until all the food's out on the table and then you go big and get a huge plate? Do you snack throughout the day and get a plate, take a nap, come back, get a second one, and maybe, a snack before bed at night? What do you guys do as far as consuming food on Thanksgiving?
Usually, so whenever I was growing up, it used to be we'd get up and then we'd go down to my grandparents and hang out with them for a bit, and then we'd go to my aunt and uncle's for dinner. Unfortunately, with all three of my grandparents are no longer with us, so we eliminate that stop. But so now I get up in the morning. I usually just have something very light for breakfast, and then I try to save off for dinner. We usually eat around like 4 o'clock, so it is a little bit later in the day for some people to eat Thanksgiving dinner. But we'll usually get over to my aunt and uncle's. We'll have some appetizers, deviled eggs, things like that, and then I'll usually eat a plate there, take a nap, come home, and then have my second plate once I'm home. How about you guys?
Normally, I just wait till all the food's done and I go real big one time.
Okay.
Well, normally I'm at work, so I have to dig in the pot while they cook and then eat what they have at work and then come home for my leftovers, which is the better part of Thanksgiving food.
Yeah.
Leftovers.
The leftovers, agreed. I'm more. I'll get like a light breakfast in the morning. I'm usually up at 6 o'clock getting the bird in the oven, so at that time I'm cracking open my first alcoholic beverage. To slow and steady wins the race as far as drinking goes on Thanksgiving Day. Back in the younger years, used to party hard Wednesday night, and you'd wake up right at noon kickoff for the first football game, so you skip breakfast. Like I was, hangover meal was the actual Thanksgiving dinner that absorb all that alcohol from the night before. I'll go light throughout the day, maybe a snack or so, and then get a plate or two after all the food's out on the table with that. Real quick, because I got some, I know we got some other stuff to touch on in the intro here with different things we saw from the week for ourselves. What is your best and worst side dish for Thanksgiving?
Worst is green bean casserole. Not a fan. I don't know anybody that really likes it except my sister. That's like her mandatory must-have every Thanksgiving. Probably my favorite, it's not really a side dish, but it's my favorite thing about Thanksgiving was my grandmother used to make mushroom gravy. It was just basically I would make my plate and then it would be smothered in mushroom gravy. So that's always been my favorite thing about Thanksgiving.
All right. Donald, Jason?
Mine will be mac and cheese is the best for me. I love it. And the worst is probably cranberry sauce. I never was a big fan of cranberry at all.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jason?
I'm going to go mashed potatoes for the best. Stuffing for the absolute worst. The absolute worst. I don't care if it's homemade.
I don't know. I don't know. Between you and Donald, I don't know which is a worse take. You saying stuffing being the worst side dish, or Donald saying Reese Cups is the worst Halloween candy? Like,
so I probably just saying, Chris, can you cut his Zoom page off?
It's funny. So it's funny for me listening to you guys say this because, as you can see on the video, and if you've seen, I'm a white male. My wife is African American, so I get the best of both worlds on Thanksgiving. Green bean casserole is definitely a white people side dish. If we're going to categorize it, so
I don't think I've had it yet.
She actually made it. She cooked it for the first time last weekend for her Friendsgiving with her girlfriends because they're like, "What would you bring?" And it was so like she was responsible for a side dish, and she's like, "I'm not making mac and cheese and taking it to him because I got to cook it for Thanksgiving." She goes, "I'm not making greens because I got to cook it for Thanksgiving." I'm like, "Well, why don't you make green bean casserole? Like you're not gonna cook that on Thanksgiving." So she made that for the first time. So yeah, I'm gonna go
in the microwave.
Yeah. So green bean casserole for the worst for me. Best, I'm gonna go with sweet potatoes or yams, depending on where you're eating Thanksgiving dinner at, what household you're in. In my household, we just call them sweet yams. That way, it covers all bases.
Political word there, sweet yams.
Sweet yams. All right. Well, that's the little thing.
Jason doesn't like stuffing.
Yeah, it threw us for a loop. So that's a little Thanksgiving talk from four fat kids that enjoy eating food. I hope you guys are excited to dig in on your plates wherever you're eating Thanksgiving at this year. Around the horn real quick, no pun intended with the show on ESPN, but some quick hits or quick hitter things that you guys saw throughout the week that you want to touch on. Anything from, entertainment, movies, sports, whatever, before we get into the actual segments for the pod.
I think probably two things to cover on quickly. See, the one I know that you sent me was that Deadpool 3's looking to be in production, like at least starting that. From what I saw, that it looks like they're still keeping the rated R rating. So I thought that's kind of interesting, being under the Disney umbrella now.
It is going to stay rated R. They are getting new writers, so we'll see how that goes. I assume Ryan Reynolds plays a huge part in the writing of the script. Or maybe more of the ad lib part as far as delivering lines and that. So hopefully the comedic aspect that is Deadpool, that makes Deadpool so great of a superhero, at least in this iteration, will stay the course, and we'll continue with the third installment.
Yeah, and then they're talking about him, that Deadpool, the character, will be replacing, I draw a blank on his name. I can't believe that.
What's it, Stan Lee?
Yeah.
Stan Lee is in all the cameos.
Yeah.
You're drawing a blank on Stan Lee?
That's worse than saying stuffing is the worst side dish. You draw a blank on Stan Lee. What a dumb mark.
I'm gonna blame it on my lack of sleep last night, but we'll see. It's definitely my old age. I'm definitely inherited my father's memory, but so that would be interesting to see how they do Deadpool's cameos in the movies. I'll miss the Stan Lee cameos, and I thought it brought like that little bit of comic relief in the movies, especially on some movies that necessarily wasn't always a comedy. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Donald, Jason, you guys got any quick hits or things that caught your attention this week?
No, can't think of anything.
Riveting information from YouTube.
What?
I said riveting information from YouTube. What are we having these guys on for? Jeez, oh man.
Look, if you're looking for game systems this holiday season, don't try.
Yeah,
Just give up on that.
yeah, that's the big thing now. I guess the PS5 and Xbox is like toilet paper at the beginning of COVID. They're selling it for 10 times the price online because people are buying them up.
That too.
If you're the adult jagoff that has no kids and you bought like 7 or 8 PS5s and 7 or 8 Xboxes to try and make a profit, go punch yourself in the face because you're taking potentially a Christmas gift away from kids. Like, come on, let's use some common sense here, dude. Like, you don't need 10 PS5s and 10 Xboxes to try to make a buck.
You don't like capitalism?
That's a different podcast. We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. All right.
Yeah, I just seen a guy on Instagram. He had 31 PlayStations.
Like what? Like really? Come on, dude.
31.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but he's charging $1,200 for each of it.
That's insane. Like, all right. Well, to a couple of things for me that I saw this week just to get the train back on track here. Christmas is saved. Thanksgiving is saved because Charlie Brown Peanuts will now air on TV. The voices of the public were heard, and Apple TV's partnered up with PBS, so those shows will air on television like they have for decades and decades.
Did they specifically hear you? Your hot take?
They did. I sent them specifically to Apple TV's headquarters. Jagoffs. I can't believe they did that in the first place. But anyways, we got what we wanted. They're back on television. Yep. Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving will air tomorrow night at 7:30 on PBS. So that's Sunday as we're recording this Saturday for you folks out there. So that's one thing. Chris, I know me and you have been talking about game shows making a comeback.
Yep.
It appears that an Uno game show will be coming from the people that do The Price is Right.
Interesting.
So
I haven't heard that yet.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see. Uno is one of those games. Again, depending on who is in your household and who is playing, the rules with Uno have changed. People have even gone back to Uno directly and told them that they're wrong with their rules on how the game's supposed to be played. So I'll be interested to see how that translates over into in the actual television production of the game show.
Yeah, because usually that's a good game to play, whenever you've had a couple drinks with your friends and really test the limits of your friendships with all of them.
Yeah, Uno and Monopoly, will test the limits of friendships, and then I'll have to throw spades in there as well. If you're a bad spades player, we might not be friends anymore.
So how does you win on a game?
You underbid or cut me in the spades. Like if you bid 5 and we end up going 10 because you don't know how to count books, we're gonna have issues.
So how do you end on Uno on TV?
I don't know. That's what I said. I'll be interested to see how it comes out
forever.
It ends when one of the contestants leap over the table and punch the other contestant. That's how it's going to end.
And then just real quick, the last thing in the intro that I wanted to touch on that I thought was pretty cool for us, considering where we live at in Pittsburgh. The Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson will be an executive producer for a football movie about the 1950s Braddock Tigers. So if you're from Pittsburgh, more importantly, like the Mon Valley region, around the areas where we grew up at, you for sure how much the steel mill and the steel industry impacted this area and region. One of the steel mills that's closest to us is still operational and still up and running. My father worked there. A lot of our dads worked there. A lot of dads of our friends worked there. So it's been an integral part of the community, and I'll be excited to see this movie about that team that had the nation's longest winning streak. So if you really think about it, that's pretty impressive that a team from Braddock, Pennsylvania, put together the longest winning streak in the nation. So excited for that. We'll see when that comes out. Hopefully it'll be done well.
Are they filming in Braddock?
None of those details have came out. They just kind of, made the announcement that the movie will be made and that, Russell Wilson is going to be one of the executive producers on it. So I'm sure as time goes on, we'll get more and more details that come out about it. But again, just something that's interesting for our community that, that we grew up around being put into a major film production based off of people that we probably know who had relatives that played on that team in the 50s.
I want to be extra.
And be an extra, yeah.
Be an extra.
You can be the water boy. You can be the water boy and serve them Crystal Light water like you do Crystal Light beer.
Jason's gonna be the breakout of the star of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, well, one last thing before we hop out of the intro. Drink of choice on Thanksgiving. Are you a beer, wine, liquor? Don't drink it all. Have to drink because of family members. Like, what's your take there on Thanksgiving?
Oh, absolutely, you have to drink on Thanksgiving.
Right. I mean, it's a family gathering, so you need to drink a little bit more, right?
Usually for me, it's wine.
Oh, a little wine connoisseur.
So we're good.
I just stick with pop or juice. That's it.
Pop or juice. I'm glad you said pop and not soda. You're from Pittsburgh. Pop's the correct pronunciation of that
Soda.
particular item.
I'm from the.
Look here, y'all are just like touching all my nerves. On this call. I hate stuffing. It's soda.
Is that because there's some DC in you? Is that what they call it down there?
It's soda down there.
Get this dude off the show. This guy. All right, I don't got nothing else. We ran this intro way too long, but get ready. Enjoy the rest of the pod.
All right, welcome to this week's edition of Bell to Bell. Another busy week in professional wrestling. We pretty much got to the point where when we don't know where to start, we start at the beginning. So what do we want to talk about from this past Monday on Raw, if anything?
You can all talk about that on SmackDown because that's where everything went.
Yeah, they kind of SmackDown gave the recap of Raw, so if you missed Raw, you could kind of watch SmackDown. A couple things to touch on from Raw that we talked about a little bit in our pre-production meeting that we quote unquote have. Obviously, Orton and McIntyre with Drew taking the belt off Randy doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. They're going with it. You knew Drew had to win Monday night based off the way they booked him on SmackDown the Friday before.
Or not the rest of the morning, the rest of the beginning of the show?
No.
Yeah, he was the entire show on SmackDown last Friday, and if he would have went into Monday Night Raw and lost to Orton, it would have been like just the worst booking ever. So you knew Drew was going to win. Sets up him and Roman for Survivor Series, and we can touch on that when we get into SmackDown. Other quick hitters from Raw, Ricochet potentially joining Retribution. Although Ricochet makes sense for Retribution, I don't see him joining Retribution. Again, WWE with the poorest booking of Retribution anyways. There was about a two-minute tweet put out by the members of Retribution, and it was on Fleets on Twitter. So Twitter kind of got their own version of IG Stories or IG Live this week. That was the big upgrade to Twitter, and they're calling it Fleet. So, but there was a fleet of the members of Retribution where they went through and gave their reasoning as to why they've joined the group. And there was footage that cut in behind them, showing different things that we all seen in the past that's happened with each member of Retribution, and it was done super well. So, like, if that would have been, again, this is where we come back to the booking of Retribution, where it's been screwed up since the beginning. But if these video packages and these tweets and promos that are being done on social media were actually the booking and the rollout for the group, they would have a completely different view on this group, and they'd be taken way more seriously.
I agree.
Yeah, it's WWE booking, and they've just done a horrible job with Retribution.
All right, and then go ahead, Donald.
I said, and that's why Raw is like it is.
Yeah.
I don't watch it.
We did see a change in the women's Survivor Series team due to an actual injury. So Mandy Rose is actually injured. Not sure exactly what the injury is. I believe it's an arm or a shoulder injury. So they wrote her and Dana Brooke off the Survivor Series team due to injury and replaced them with Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans. If you guys want to hear a breakdown more on Survivor Series and the predictions, go over to our YouTube channel and check out our Survivor Series predictions show that we did. That'll be out before Survivor Series, so you can go back and catch more of a breakdown here on Raw and SmackDown that we go into a little bit in depth as we're picking that card. So let's go from Monday night. We'll just jump over to Friday night because SmackDown last night was the tie-in for Survivor Series. What jumped off the page as far as SmackDown goes? Did you guys enjoy the show? What do you think overall?
I don't feel like a whole lot jumped off the page other than the Roman Drew McIntyre contract signing.
Yeah.
I felt like that was the highlight, in a way, the highlight of the night. But honestly, SmackDown really didn't make me that interested in Survivor Series. Like, for being the go-home show to the pay-per-view, I didn't feel like it really...
There wasn't much to tie into Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just the contract signing and naming the members of the women's. It just felt like there was just other matches just thrown in there.
And, I hurt this pay-per-view because usually in the past you've seen a lot of Raw and SmackDown, jumping on each other's brands, to attack one another. And due to COVID, they didn't do that this year. But
yeah, we Drew and Roman was by far the best segment of the night. I broke this down on the Survivor Series prediction, but Roman, like I said, he just continues to be on fire and hitting on all cylinders. Everything from the littlest thing of sitting actually at the head of the table last night to his promo. Some of the zingers out there. You're my favorite number 2 champion. They only put the belt on you when I'm not around or not interested. You were the right guy, right place, wrong time. So he definitely tore Drew a new asshole during that promo last night.
That sounds kind of Hunter-ish there.
Very Hunter-esque for sure. Yeah. So I mean, other than that, like, I hated the open to the show. You just run guys out there just to run guys out there, and you book a match on the fly because you want to get 8 guys on the show that are involved in matches at Survivor Series. And Dolph and Rude aren't even on the card unless they get thrown into that pre-show battle royal.
They probably will.
But yeah, I hated the open of the show. Absolutely hated it. Adding Bayley and Natty to the Women's Survivor Series team match, to me, putting Bayley on there kind of that tips the scales to me as far as Team SmackDown goes for women winning at Survivor Series. I think the one of the dumbest things of the night was you just tell Otis he's the 5th member for the men's Survivor Series team when you have Big E sitting there not doing shit but backstage segments with the Street Profits and New Day. Like, Big E's been a cheerleader for this entire New Day Street Profits match for Survivor Series. He hasn't been on television. He's literally just done backstage segments cheering on the New Day.
That's why I'm hoping they don't turn him.
Chris talked about this yesterday when we recorded the prediction, but he said, he expects some shenanigans in the tag team title match and have Big E turn on New Day to start Big E's run. And I'm like, well, that to me that makes no sense, because then you have a heel Big E and your champion on SmackDown is a heel. Yeah. So if you're gonna push Big E, then that means Roman's not gonna be your champ, and the only babyface that is remotely even on Roman's level right now is Daniel Bryan, and he hasn't done anything.
I mean, I see Big E doing something. It's just what? Because maybe he just turns on the Street Profits and that kind of starts his transition to something. But he just needs to do something. He can't keep coming out wearing his same New Day gimmicks every week and acting the same way whenever he's not a part of New Day anymore, technically. They need to do something different to his character. It's the same thing that we've said about Roman, now that he's the tribal chief instead of the big dog.
He spoke to that on Talking Smack one day. He was like, I've done it the other way, and look where he got me, like when he was heel.
Yeah.
I've been a heel before. Look where he got me. I'm out here just having fun, doing my thing. Let's try this out. So I'm just.
And with that, you become.
It goes with that. Say that again.
And I said, and with that, you become R-Truth. I'm just out there having fun. Next thing you know, you 24/7 champion.
I get it. I can understand, why they started New Day, why they're together, why he acts that way. But yeah, I mean, if they're gonna push him as a main eventer, because they did it with Kofi, so it's not like the New Day hinders him from being champion. It's just he doesn't have an identity other than that. And if you're not going to keep them together, what's the point of still giving him that identity?
True. All right. Well, I don't think we need to go any more in the WWE main roster. Like I said, if you want a breakdown for predictions for Survivor Series, go to the YouTube page, check out the video. Let's bounce around the rest of the wrestling world here, and I guess
real quick?
Go ahead.
I do feel like this is Vince's "I told you so."
For what?
Roman and McIntyre, his two top guys.
Yeah.
So people online were like, oh, this is what should be the main event for WrestleMania. Why are we getting it now? And there has been no build to this, and they're doing this, yada yada yada. Like I said last week on the pod, if you're gonna run Drew versus Roman for Mania because Seth is going out on paternity leave to be with Becky, maybe you work out something that Drew gets traded to Raw or to SmackDown, and they run the angle there, and they have Roman and Drew. But I mean, Chris, you said yesterday you saw them two whenever they faced off at Mania in Dallas, and the crowd was dead for them. Now it's a different scenario. They're both different characters than what they were for that match. So reaction-wise, maybe different.
Roman, yes. Drew, no. I still think Drew's the same character he was 2 years ago. I mean, it all was just a different elevation of that character. But yeah, I mean, I think all three of us were there in New York for that WrestleMania, and I think we all had our bathroom break during that match.
Yeah, that was a bathroom break.
Yeah, the crowd was dead on it. The crowd didn't care about the match, and I think Jason hit something on the head. I feel like COVID a lot's been Vince being like, hey, no fans, I'm doing things how I want to do them. And that's why, luckily Roman worked out. I think
Roman worked out because this is who Roman wanted to be the entire time. This is how he perceived himself being on the main roster. It's more towards his FCW NXT character.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it worked out, because he's comfortable in this. He's in his groove with this. He knows how he wants to say things, how his cadence wants to be, how his look wants to be. Like, he knows all that because he's, in his mind, he's gone over this time and time again, whether it's, driving the shows or flying in planes. Like, he has this vision of himself, of this character, and that's why he's knocking it out of the park.
I mean, writing the promos for him, or if it's just that he's getting better at promos, because when he was just, Shield member Roman, coming out cutting a promo, you could tell he was memorizing it and just spewing it out. His promos have gotten so much better. So whether it's, him actually cutting the promo now and it flowing because it's his cadence, like you said, it's so much better.
No, I told you last night when we recorded, Roman Reigns talked me into wanting to watch a match on a pay-per-view. He's never done that before. That right there goes to tell you that he's hitting on all cylinders with what he's doing. All right, that's enough of main roster. Let's jump over to Wednesday night. We'll get into the Wednesday night wars here with AEW and NXT. I guess we can kick it off with NXT. Go ahead, shoot. What do you guys got for NXT from Wednesday night?
The Rhea Iho match was amazing. I like that match a lot.
It was good.
I was tweeting out along with the show Wednesday with NXT. Chris, you were following Dynamite live. I was a little concerned because they had Balor, making this announcement and everything else, and Io and Rhea, when they said that the match was next, I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, so wait, this isn't the main event of the show? And
Yeah, I
then
didn't like that, but
as entrances came and that, I'm looking at the clock again and I'm like, it's 9:36. Like, are they only going to give these two like 10 minutes? Like maybe 15 with a commercial break? Like this match is deserves more time than this. Like put this match on for an hour and let them go at it. But I mean, it ran up to 9:56, 9:57 before the bell rang with Io winning, and then Finn hopped in and did his thing with McAfee and Undisputed Era. So the Rhea Io match was by far, like you said, it was the match of the night for sure.
Those women bring it. I mean, Rhea's ear. I'm interested. I heard like that she had to get some pieces of her ear like cut after the match, but that was sick.
Yeah, I mean, great visual. Like you have Becky standing in the stands with the bloody nose. You have Rhea feeling the blood and then wiping it across her cheek. Like that's a great visual that you can maybe harken back to depending on where she goes in the upcoming year. I didn't like the beginning of the show. The finishes for the first match and second match were just I don't know, sometimes NXT, the past couple of times I watched it live, the finishes have been kind of shitty. Like you had a blindfold match that wasn't even a blindfold. It was a pillowcase put over their heads. And then they take the pillowcases off and they fight each other without the blindfolds on. And then the match just kind of ends. Like, I don't get it.
That seemed like they're getting like a little bit of main roster into their creative now.
The storyline, they're creeping into like that unnatural territory. Like, you'll need that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Triple H becoming a little bit more like Vince or if it's the new writers on the show, but yeah, you can definitely tell that COVID's hurt NXT a bit, especially because you figure whenever they first moved to Wednesday nights and did 2 hours, they did rely a little bit more on the UK talent.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, like I said, it was just some things that were off. Obviously the big announcement, War Games, December 6th. I was hating on the Candice LeRae Shotzi. I'm like, you start a feud by breaking a tank? Really? This is what we're going with? And then after the announcement was made, I'm like, oh, a tank, War Games. The tank is the logo for War Games. Okay, now I buy it. It completely makes sense. I love the women's 4-on-4 War Games match, although we don't know who the fourth member of Team Shotzi is going to be. But I love Team Candice right now with what they got going on with those 4 women.
Who do you put up against Io now?
So I was thinking, to me, I think Rhea, because she's feuded with Raquel, is going to be the 4th member for Team Shotzi.
Okay.
So you'll have Shotzi, Toni Storm, Ember Moon, and Rhea, that's one hell of a team. And then you have Candice, Indy, Raquel, and Dakota. So that'll be your 4v4. So I brought this up, talking it over with my cousin. TakeOver. So NXT TakeOver War Games, right? You'll have the men's War Games match. You'll have the women's War Games match, right? You'll have the triple threat for the North American title, which will be Johnny, Priest, and Leon 1-2-3 Kid Ruff. So you'll have those 3 matches, right? And then other than that, Ciampa and Thatcher will be your 4th match, potentially. I don't know who else. Like, do you have an NXT TakeOver where you don't have your women's championship and your men's heavyweight championship defended?
I think you got to have one or the other.
We don't know if Balor's cleared. He didn't get to say. And Io just beat Rhea, and there's no other challenger set up for her. And War Games is on the 6th.
Mm-hmm. So in 2 weeks, they have absolutely nobody prepared for Io.
So right now you have 4 matches. Well, what we think would be 4 matches. For that card, NXT takeovers are usually 5 matches. So I don't know what that 5th match is going to be, or if Io's even on that match.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably not, just because the War Games matches are going to take up some time on that card. So with 2 of them being there, that's probably going to be a good half of your card right there. So I could understand if they didn't throw in any title matches just to throw them on, not give them any build up. And I'd actually rather not have them just throw on a title match.
So you only go with, say, those 4 matches that I ran off.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
The men's take the men's war game match is going to be 40 minutes itself because they were for a good while.
They're not full. You got to play. You got to put Finn, not put Finn in it, but have him have its presence somewhere, even if it's after.
Yeah, he was teasing some cover art this week of picture of him, AJ Styles, and Adam Cole as the club. So I don't know if that's just him throwing that out there just to be Finn and stirring stuff up, getting the internet wrestling community up in a buzz. But
he's thrown that one out there before, so yeah, it's him just trying to be, that mark online.
But it was interesting to have Finn bring back Undisputed Era. Obviously, this was done to make Undisputed baby faces.
Mm-hmm.
Like, clearly they're baby faces now. No longer like the tweener heels or dickhead heels. They're strictly baby faces now. So, but yeah, we'll see what goes on with that. Interesting to note. Anything else from NXT you guys want to talk about or bring up?
No, I think I'm okay.
I'm good.
All right, let's move over then to the show that actually stole the night on Wednesday night and put an ass whooping on NXT in the ratings war. Upwards of 250,000 more people watched AEW over NXT as far as total numbers. But if you look in the breakdown and the data of the ratings and quarter hour markers and demographic and so on and so forth, it was an absolute bashing of NXT on Wednesday night, which may make me a little worried if I'm Triple H in the group, because you announced one of your biggest male stars coming back for a major announcement, and you booked your strongest women's match as the main event, and you didn't draw at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't look at the breakdown of the ratings at all, so I don't know if NXT ratings ticked up at all with Rhea and Io and Finn at the end. But I felt like AEW is a strong show. A little weird that they're building up now towards Winter is Coming, and
so that's the take on Game of Thrones. I didn't see Game of Thrones. I didn't have HBO. I don't know, Donald, Jason, if you guys watched Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm. Great show.
Yeah, it was a good show.
So I kind of get the gist. The Winter is Coming. Winter was one of the, I guess, families or I don't know how you want to word it for Game of Thrones, but that was
winter.
like, okay.
It was just actual winter.
All right.
Basically, they said winter is coming, meaning like the bad zombie people who was in there were making their way down towards the kingdom. So
yeah, so that was like the big payoff, right? That was the big battle scene in the last season that
correct.
Capped everything off.
Yep.
That wasn't.
Which is what? But
that was season 7.
Yeah, so Winter is Coming. AEW does this where they'll throw taglines on shows or matches. This is where I may go a little bit into fantasy booking or deep into the weeds with stuff, but let's see if we can circle around this and make some sense, right? So you were supposed to have the contract signing between Moxley and Omega. The week prior on Dynamite, you saw Kenny leaving the arena, was on the cell phone talking about, yeah, see you there, whatever, about to get on the flight. He was taking a flight somewhere to go meet somebody. They get to the contract signing segment, and Moxley's laid out in the back. So immediately it runs to, all right, we have a mystery attacker angle, right? Who could it possibly be? And I'm going to throw this out here. This has been rumored to be, but I'll take the rumor and kind of make sense of it. So potentially, maybe, possibly, highly unlikely, but the person that could be brought in to be this attacker would be Kenta from New Japan.
It would make sense, seeing as he has the briefcase for the United States Championship title shot.
Not only that, but he is in Bullet Club. Kenny is back to being the cleaner. He ran Bullet Club as the cleaner. So it wouldn't surprise me if he reaches out to his Bullet Club brethren and brings a little Japanese hitman style to soften up Moxley before their match.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I think everybody has said since the very beginning of AEW is there going to be an AEW New Japan partnership, and it hasn't happened yet. But I know Kenta's here in the States wrestling, in their LA Dojo show every Friday. So, you got to do something with Moxley for that title. He hasn't done anything with the title since COVID, so they're going to have to do something with New Japan for that. And this is the perfect opportunity, I think.
He even said in his promo too, he was like, "I'm a champ on 2 continents."
Yeah.
If you don't know about him being the United States champ for that would have never clicked in your head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are you buying a? And maybe it's not Kenta, but that's the one that makes the most sense given all the ties. And this essentially being the springboard to the AEW New Japan partnership. I mean, for a while there, as we know, bridges were burned, and there, didn't appear from either side wanting to do anything as far as partnership goes. Mm-hmm. Business-wise, you already shown what you could do with NWA as far as having the women's matches and the NWA women's title, which has been strong showing on your programming. You had Don Callis come in for a one-off with announcing Omega's match. He's with Impact, whether or not that leads to anything. I think that's more for like Callis's ties with Omega going back to New Japan rather than them working towards doing something with Impact. But I mean, hey, like I said, when AEW first announced, let's get all the smaller promotions. Let's partner up. Let's move talent around, and let's go back to what was the quote unquote territory days, and have people move around and do different things on different shows.
Yeah, I think that they've proven that it can work. Especially with NWA, and NWA's proven that it can work with the United Wrestling Network too. Go ahead, Jason.
Somebody's gonna get too big for their britches. Somebody's gonna be.
It is the wrestling business, so you got ego involved, right?
There you go.
And that was always the problem back in the territory days. That
Cody McMahon.
We're gonna give you the champion. Who's gonna fight your champion? And
Cody McMahon. Which one is he? Is he Cody McMahon or is he Cody Helmsley? Like
he's Cody Hogan, man. He's Cody everything, man.
So speaking of Cody, let's get into the main event on Dynamite. Then him tag teaming up with Darby Allin to take on Team Taz. I love the Papa John's pizza T-shirt dig at Shaquille O'Neal. I thought it was done really well. That people might have missed it, but if you know Shaq's involvement with Papa John's and that promotional run with the Everybody Loves Shaq, Shaq Loves Everybody, giving out the Shaq-a-roni pizzas, it was done really well. So
I thought it was just subtle enough to keep the storyline going.
I like the match a lot. The thing that bugs me to death was the end. Like, you just crown a new champion and he gets pinned while you have Cody Hogan just outside the ring just looking in. I was like, there is no way you can pin the champ like this fast. I was like, nah, man.
I don't.
Cody
I
Hogan
hear
at work.
I hear what you're saying, but because of the punishment and how the actual finisher was applied to Darby, I don't think it weakens him at all. Like, that could be setting up that maneuver to be one of those ones that are like a one-winged angel where you're not going to kick out of it. You know what I mean? Like,
It's very protected.
yeah. So, but the match, like you said, the match itself, I felt was tremendous. Like it was perfect for a main event spot. We get the swerve at the end with Will Hobbs joining Team Taz. I don't know if you guys thought that's how it was going to go down.
I didn't know it was going to go down this early. Figured it was going to go down, but not this early.
Yeah, I thought we were still going to see a few weeks more of teasing. I thought we might have actually seen maybe a little more teasing, not him just coming out, but maybe trying to like make it look like he was going to join, then decide from there. But it's what I expected. I'm really interested to seeing what they do with Will Hobbs. I think he's supposed to be in action next week, so maybe he'll actually get to show off some of his talent.
Yeah, I was high on Hobbs since I first watched him on Dark and the matches that he put on in the beginning part of COVID and what he's done. I think adding him to Team Taz is great. You see AEW. This is where like the New Japan aspect comes into AEW, where you have a ton of factions and a ton of people in those factions, so you can move matches around, rotate tag teams together, do triple threats together. Maybe you get a trios titles at some point in time, like you have in Lucha Underground or that's in New Japan, based off of the people and the factions. But no, great addition. I think putting him with Taz is great for him being as young as he is. He can learn a lot from Taz. And Ricky Starks and Cage, say what you will about each of them, but to me, those three will fit the mold of a Team Taz and what they're trying to do with that.
It's nice to see Taz working with, Cage is a little experienced now. He's been around for a bit, but it's nice to see he's still I think Cage is still a little green. So it's kind of nice to see Taz working with three guys that, that are young and hungry and could possibly.
You mean what do you mean by green with Cage? Like his ring work is green, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't think he's green in the ring. Like he's been all over wrestling.
He has. I just think that there's still some room for improvement with him in the ring and on the mic.
Mike wise,
as being on the mic with him.
I'll give you Mike wise. Like even going back to Lucha Underground. Whenever I first saw Cage and really got into him, he was never really great on the mic there either. His stuff is being a big some bitch that can do high flyer moves, because he started out as a smaller guy but built his body up over time and just never lost the moveset. Mm-hmm. I think the star of the group and the one that's gonna shine the brightest over time is going to be absolute Ricky Starks.
Yeah, for sure.
Dude, just
Rachel Anderson Cooper.
What's that?
By Rachel Anderson Cooper.
Yeah.
What?
WWE Jason, everybody.
All right.
Not everybody in AEW.
All right. With that comment, we're going to move on to other parts of the show. You had the backstage segment with Jade Cargill taking out Brandy. To me, this is obviously going to lead to Cody and Brandy versus Jade and Shaq at Revolution. That's where I think this is going to go storyline wise. The way to write off Brandy. And we'll see what that is and where that goes. I guess what else happened on Dynamite that we liked.
I did like the match between Young Bucks and Top Flight.
Yes.
So
Top Flight impressed me.
Yes, they did.
That Top Flight. Is that Devon's sons?
No.
Because I thought Devon's boys got signed to, or they were gonna do. But that's not Top Flight. That's a completely different
I don't think those are these guys.
Yeah, I think Devon's boys are going to have a dark match. I think.
Okay, all right. Then I was off because JR bringing up the training tie-ins with them and who they train with and everything else. Like they were super impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think if you were to compare them to, say, Private Party, because both have wrestled the Young Bucks, as being an unknown team, we saw that back in the beginning of the tag team tournament when AEW first got started, and Private Party pulled the upset. But to me, like, Top Flight felt more of a team that belonged in the ring with the Young Bucks for the first time than Private Party did.
I agree with that because they look more polished. I mean, they really impressed me.
Not saying that Private Party isn't good or anything, but to me, like, if you just look for first match on the big stage, I felt like Top Flight belonged in there more than what Private Party did with the Young Bucks.
And I mean, you figure a year ago, whenever that match happened, everybody thought that was just going to be a squash match for the Young Bucks because they were gonna move forward in the tournament. So I don't think anybody had Private Party winning that match. And,
right.
So that was like that nice shock out of the tournament too. But I thought Top Flight was good. It would definitely fit the Young Bucks style. They definitely meshed well together in the ring, and I think we'll see them again on Dynamite. But I wouldn't mind seeing a street or a Private Party match versus Top Flight too.
So they had the run-in with Angelico and Jack Evans afterwards, beating up Top Flight. And if you put those four dudes in a ring together with what Angelico and Jack Evans can do, that has potential for some major fireworks that will be like, holy shit, what did I just see happen in a wrestling ring?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
All right. The other big thing to come out of Dynamite this week was the return of the Death Triangle. We saw Pac's first match back against the Blade. Huh?
That's where I'm at right now, on mute.
Yeah. So, well, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Hey, wait to watch the stuff before the show, not as we record.
I gotta stay up to date. I want to get it to you fresh.
We can add new segment to the show right now. Go ahead and start providing the commentary as you're watching it. What do you think is happening?
Botch.
So the match was good. It was hard hitting. It was physical. We get Phoenix coming down afterwards to help Pac out as Eddie Kingston and Blade and Butcher were putting the boots to him, and then Pentagon coming out with a chair. Not sure. You think he's gonna go after Phoenix and Pac because he's best friends with Eddie Kingston, but he ends up taking a swing at Kingston, and we have the reformation of the Death Triangle. I'm glad they went this route with it. That group didn't get a chance to do anything. They formed right before COVID hit, and we really didn't get to see what they were planning on doing with them. So I'm glad that they're back together, and now they can go where they initially had planned for them.
Definitely another stone. Good on.
I said, now with this dude, this diminishes Eddie Kingston's group now, since he don't have Phoenix.
Just butchering the Blade. Don't ask if they diminish, man. Get the fuck out of here. Just butchering the Blade. Ain't nobody to begin with.
WWE Jason coming in hot.
All right,
This can't be all pro AEW, man.
It's interesting to see where they're going to go with Eddie Kingston now because, Steve, I know we had talked last week that you thought this match could have won as a tag with Pac and Phoenix versus Penta and Kingston instead of doing Butcher and Blade in here. So I think that would have been stronger.
Now you're just going to get three. You're going to get the 3v3 match, and it'll that'll. Maybe we'll see them on the early in the pay-per-view of Revolution, or you get it on Dynamite leading up to it. I'm fine with having Eddie go with the Butcher and the Blade. He can be a mouthpiece for them too. Not that Blade doesn't really need a mouthpiece because Sutter can actually talk on the microphone. They just don't let him talk. Butcher, on the other hand, I don't really know much about him as far as mic work, whether or not he can or not. So I'm fine with having it be Eddie on the mic, like, again, we're back to the, factions, groups of threes. So kind of where we're at. All right. What else from this week caught your eye with wrestling? I know, Chris, we can get into well, wait, hold on. Let me jump back into Dynamite real quick.
As I said, we had the big Inner Circle in Vegas. What did everybody think of that?
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
I like the whole time whenever Hagar and Warlow were just staring at each other.
Yeah.
Just staring at each other.
They started beating the shit out of people in the club. That was good.
I think for me the best part was Ortiz just on crank, just banging out weights with the tightest bride wife beater / t-shirt I've ever seen. Sammy waking up in the fountain was pretty great. And then obviously MJF getting, Sharpie written on his face with being soft, and Sammy was here. Anytime you're at a house party and the jag-off passes out first, he's getting, dick and balls drawn on his face. So that was a good touch.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out. Sammy has possibly 3 wives.
Yeah.
And one out of the 3 had their back to the camera, so we're not, who knows who that might be. That could be a nice surprise.
And then what I thought, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa from the hottest AEW women's feud, because of 2 tweets, they actually took the social media and turned it into an angle between the 2 of them by having Britt come out and cost her the match against Serena and interfere. So I'd like to see Britt and Thunder Rosa go at it. Britt Baker debuted a segment on Dark this week called The Waiting Room, where she interviewed guests, and obviously the waiting room, she's a dentist. There's the pun there. But I hope they work out the kinks for it on Dark and it actually gets onto Dynamite, because the segment was actually really good with Angelico and Jack Evans, and she runs down some people and makes comments, and like I said, her character work during this entire time of COVID has just continued to grow and blossom and make her a bigger star. So hopefully that's something that translates over to Dynamite that will elevate her even more.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see Thunder Rosa more on AEW. It seems like we're going to get at least a Britt Baker Thunder Rosa match out of this week. Thunder Rosa is incredibly talented. It was a good match between her and Serena Deeb for the NWA Women's Championship. Depending on how you look at it, whether you like Serena or not, I think she's a talent. I was kind of hoping maybe to see Thunder Rosa regain the championship though. So, but yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing how this moves forward.
Yeah.
Where does the women's division go? Like for the title, who's in that picture?
Well, I think you could have. I think if you're gonna go, Sheeta and if you're gonna go Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, then you can have the winner of that feud go after Sheeta for the AEW title, and that can be your lead into Revolution.
I don't know what the rankings are right now, but I know Britt's probably got to be back up there again. And I don't even know if they're ranking Thunder Rosa or not.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see there. Other happenings on in the world of professional wrestling. We saw the return of the restart for MLW on Wednesday night. That aired at 7 to 8 o'clock. I watched it on YouTube. Really enjoyed the show. MLW has a solid product. Court Bauer does a great job with them. His writing for the show is tremendous. It's just him writing the show. He may have talents, give input onto angles and whatnot, but he's the one person writing that show, and he does a great job of it. So we saw Jacob Fatu and Harry Smith Jr. in the main event, Brian Pillman Jr. against Myron Reed, and Hammerstone was in action. So that was kind of the card there, running it down.
Fatu's in incredible shape.
He's an absolute star. Star. I don't know how Court Bauer signed him to a 5-year deal, or what money he's paying him for that 5-year deal, but it's going to be tough to keep him in MLW.
Yeah, I think the longer he goes and the better he gets, people are really going to be knocking at MLW's door for him. Yeah, incredible talent. He was always a bigger guy. Kind of had that Umaga build, before COVID, and it looks like he's dropped a little bit of weight, slimmed down a bit, but still a beast in the ring. I thought, him and Davey Boy Smith Jr. was a great physical altercation. And after the match, it looks like we're going to see Hammerstone step in the picture. So that's going to be another Haas versus Haas match.
Yeah, and Hammerstone's finisher is just absolutely unreal.
Yeah, whenever I first saw him do it, I was just like, oh, he's doing the Goldberg finish. And then just add that extra element in there, like a pendulum. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pendulum was crazy. So MLW did announce the return of the Opera Cup for 2020. They brought it back last year for the first time in decades. Davey Boy Smith Jr. won it last year. He beat Brian Pillman Jr. in the finals. This year's bracket and entrance, we have Tom Lawler versus Rocky Romero, Laredo Kid versus ACH, Low Key versus Davey Boy Smith Jr., and Richard Holiday versus TJP. Thoughts on any of those matchups and potentially who you can see winning this Opera Cup 2020?
Who'd you say is wrestling ACH?
Laredo Kid.
Either one of those could go. What's the guy's name? Jack Holiday?
Richard Holiday.
Yeah, they're really pushing him a little bit too. So, but yeah, my money might be on whoever wins Laredo versus ACH.
Donald, Jason, any thoughts on those entrance and bracket?
You said TJP and I checked out.
I said ACH. I haven't seen ACH fight in a long time, but I'll just give it to him.
Yeah, I'm hoping they don't go with Low Key or Tom Lawler. Even though those have been main event people for them in MLW, I think it'll be a good way to promote somebody else. So if I'm gonna go with that logic, I'll go with Holiday, being kind of the surprise winner of this, and maybe use it to springboard him into more of a not main event, but an upper tier card person in MLW.
Yeah, I didn't watch last year's Opera Cup at all, so I'm interested in watching it this year.
Yeah, go back and check that out. It was done really well. Tuesday Night Impact, I didn't watch it, but they did announce the bracket for the TNA Knockouts Championship, the tag team belts that they're bringing back, which will crown the champion at their January pay-per-view, Hard to Kill. First match got off this week, and Chris, you said it was Havoc and Nevaeh.
Yeah, Havoc and Nevaeh defeated Tennille Dashwood, Emma, and Alicia. Yeah, Havoc and Nevaeh, that might be my team to beat. They're two big girls, and they're sturdy and they can get it done in the ring.
Yeah, I think that the intrigue with this is who's going to be Jordan Grace's surprise tag team partner.
Yeah,
they had TBA next to her name in the bracket. A couple of teams I didn't recognize, so not really sure who the women are that are a part of those teams I didn't see before. Rosemary and Taya, I could see making a little bit of a run at it. But yeah, I think Jordan and the TBA is where most of my intrigue goes towards for this tournament here.
Because she could run the tournament herself, be like Matt Morgan back in the day. Champion.
Yeah, that could be it. I didn't even think about that. But yeah.
I'm looking at the bracket now, and it looks like Jordan Grace and whoever her partner will be in the same bracket as Havoc and Nevaeh. So
Okay.
If
So our partners in names yet?
yeah,
Just hers.
Yeah, they're still just looking. They're doing like a backstage thing, like where Jordan keeps looking for a new partner.
Will she be the one man or one woman tag champ?
Well, if you would have listened, Donald just said that instead of watching the show that you should have watched before we reported the podcast, you jag off.
We're trying to do research. I'm looking at the Knockouts tag division.
You're looking at knockouts. You're not looking at the knockouts tag team division. Let's keep it real.
Way to put me on blast.
Jeez, oh man. Yeah,
That's his research.
yeah. Oh, gosh.
This one I like her Instagram stories. I think I'm gonna go with
her. ROH announced that they'll be making their long-awaited pay-per-view return for Final Battle 2020, which will take place on December 18th. No card yet, but the graphic for it looks pretty interesting with who's showing. So we'll see how that comes out. I know you had Jay Briscoe make a challenge to EC3, so we'll see where that goes. And it looks like EC3 is going to be sticking around in ROH for a little bit here. He's on the poster for the pay-per-view, and see where that goes. But glad to see Ring of Honor come back. Hopefully they can carry out the momentum that they had from the Pure Title tournament and get some more eyes on their product.
Yeah, it's like Ring of Honor's kind of been in a transition, period ever since Young Bucks, Cody, and Kenny Omega have left. So it'll be interesting to see where they go in 2021 now that COVID's over, or they're coming back from the COVID break.
They can't use that as an excuse no more, man. That's 2 years ago. Like, get over it. You gotta come out and get your shit going.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those things that they just weren't expecting, and they weren't prepared for it, and they I don't think they still are.
Everybody got involved with the with the virus.
Yeah.
It's time for them to.
All right. I know we went long here with wrestling this week, but a lot of stuff going on. Anything else that jumped off the page at you guys as far as wrestling goes around the horn, quick hitters?
Did we talk about that tag list?
No, not yet. We're gonna wait until the official
magazine
top
release?
50 until the official drops where it's all 50 tag teams. They only put out the top 10. So okay. We'll wait. Don't worry. We'll have plenty of time. That'll be a separate show. That'll be a separate special episode to get into that because there's a lot to get into and unpack with that list so far, and it's only the first 10 teams. So anything else?
No, I'm good.
Undertaker joined TikTok. And we'll end the segment on that. That was this week in Bell to Bell. Chug. This week's Drink of the Week segment is brought to you by a poorly performed intro because we're doing this on Zoom and it sounded as if we're already drunk. So take that as you may. The stay-at-home orders have caused a little delay in technology, so that intro was not as clean as it normally is. So this week we're gonna go double fist and bring you 2 Drink of the Week reviews. Since we're coming into Thanksgiving, what better way than to review 2 drinks, considering that the amount of alcohol normally consumed to deal with family members is twice as much as you would regularly drink. We have a Harpoon Dunkin pumpkin. We did that in regards to pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. And to stick with the sweet dessert theme, we're also doing Yuengling's Hershey's Chocolate Porter, coming out of Yuengling Brewing Company out of Pottsville, PA, the oldest brewery in the nation. So, Chris, what do you want to do first here? And Donald and Jason are on this drink of the week, but again, due to stay-at-home orders, we were not able to split our beers into 4s. So, unfortunately, they will not be able to give a sip and review for either one of these 2 beers. Maybe we can get their reviews at a later time, unless they have something at their house that they want to review now and just add it into drink of the week via virtual edition.
I'm just here for support.
There you go.
What
So we got it.
Are you drinking, Jason?
Say what?
What flavor of Crystal Light are you drinking?
I am drinking pink lemonade. Raspberry
okay.
lemonade, matter of fact. Here's a life hack. If you don't like beer, put Crystal Light in it.
This guy.
I took a lot of hell for it, but
But
the opinions of the reviews and opinions of certain people on the Drink of the Week segment do not support in the overall opinions of the rest of the host of this show. So please disregard that segment and that tidbit by Jason of adding Crystal Light to your beer.
Okay, I can edit that out during post-production.
We'll thank Donald for being our designated driver of this segment, since he's just here for support. We appreciate that. But you always need a good designated driver, and holiday season, don't get behind the wheel of a car drunk. Call an Uber, call a friend, call me. I don't care, but let's stay sober and not get behind the wheel of the car there.
Usually for the holidays, I stick with the hard stuff. I usually don't drink beer for Thanksgiving or Christmas. I'll do wine or mixed drinks. I got some beer at home, so it might just end up being a beer holiday this year for Thanksgiving. So let's start it off with Harpoon's Dunkin' Pumpkin. This is basically a twist that's supposed to be a pumpkin ale mixed with Dunkin' coffee to kind of make like a hard pumpkin latte.
Yeah, it says it's inspired by our favorite fall latte. This ale is brewed with pumpkin, fall spices, and a splash of coffee.
Let's give it a try.
Give it a taste and see where we're at. I don't know about you, but I don't taste any pumpkin or pumpkin spice latte. To me, it's just it tastes like beer.
Yeah,
I don't get anything.
Very strong. Yeah,
it just tastes like beer.
I'm getting, it's definitely getting the beer taste, but I'm getting the coffee flavoring with it. It's also 5.2 alcohol, which is average. Nothing special in there. Usually for a coffee and pumpkin beer, I think the alcohol percentage is a little bit higher, so kind of surprised that this is a little bit on the low end. But I agree, I'm not really getting too much of the fall spices or the pumpkin flavoring.
No, I mean, I like the bottle. Love Life is written on the bottle. It's definitely reminiscent of a Dunkin' Donuts coffee cup.
Love Life and Love Beers on the bottle.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know.
For essence of pumpkin,
I'm not getting any pumpkin at all. Nothing.
Nothing. I can kind of tell maybe a little bit of spice in the aftertaste, but definitely not a whole lot. Like whenever you think of a fall beer, that's what you're drinking for, is to get that pumpkin and that spice flavor in there. And the coffee and the beer flavor is more overpowering on my end, at least.
Yeah, I'm on a scale of 1 to 5 sumos. I'm gonna have to go with a 2. I'm not impressed with the lack of flavor, lack of spices, and just as a beer taste, it's not even that good of a beer. So I'm gonna go with a 2 for Harpoon's Dunkin' Pumpkin.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about the same thing with you. It's not a bad drinking beer. Like I don't hate it while I'm drinking it, but there's just nothing special about it that I'm.
It's not. If I have other choices around me, I'm gonna grab those before I grab this.
Like I still have some whole hog pumpkin ale here, and I'd rather have that than this.
Absolutely, it's great. Like that absolutely
I'm a big fan of Dunkin' Donuts beer, so I was really kind of looking forward to this. Not Dunkin' Donuts beer, Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Yeah, I was kind of really looking forward to trying this out. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with the 2 as well.
All right. Well, that was the Harpoon Dunkin' Pumpkin. Keeping up with the dessert themed edition of Drink of the Week, we'll move on to the Yuengling Hershey's Chocolate Porter. Yuengling is one of my favorite beers. It's one of the beers that I started drinking after turning 21, or before I was 21. You can edit that out, but it clearly states on the label 21 to enjoy. So If you weren't aware of the drinking age, Yuengling makes it known to you what the legal drinking age is. So if you're not 21, don't enjoy this beer.
I'm wondering if they did that because of how prominent Hershey's is on the label.
Absolutely, they had to have
Yeah.
to cover themselves to make it known. Hey, this is an alcoholic beverage and not just a kid's drink.
Yeah, not like a dessert drink or anything like that.
Might get it confused with chocolate milk.
Yeah,
I mean,
possible.
I know, like, before taking a taste of it, like when you hold the bottle up, like you smell chocolate, like you smell a Hershey's chocolate bar for sure. Like before you even taste it,
Would definitely grab that as a kid.
Yeah, let's try it.
that is straight chocolate.
I like that.
Yeah, that is like drinking a spiked Hershey bar.
Jason, for how into Irish car bombs you are, I'd kind of like to get your take on this, to see what you think. What you would think of
Where'd
it.
you get that at?
I actually picked this up at Giant Eagle.
Oh,
I did
even better.
Did a make my own 6-pack with it. So
Okay. Might have to try some at work.
it's definitely not like a stout. So I'm looking this up. This is actually 4.7% alcohol. So that really, really low for Yuengling. But I agree. Yuengling's one of my favorite beer. Yuengling Lager is one of my favorite beers to drink. It's different because I was kind of expecting with the porter and the chocolate Hershey, I thought maybe it would taste like a stout, be a little more smooth. But this definitely is a beer. It's definitely nothing like a stout. Yeah,
It's a porter. It's completely opposite of a stout.
But I really like the flavor. Like I knew that there was going to be a chocolate flavor, but I wasn't sure how much the chocolate would really pick up. But
no, it's there. Like I said, I absolutely taste Hershey chocolate. Like, I don't know how many of these I'm gonna actually sit down and drink.
yeah,
I don't think I'm buying a case of these to hammer through on Thanksgiving. Am I having one after my first plate while I'm sitting there watching the second football game? Is kind of a wash down of all the food I consumed. I would probably have one or two of these. Not something that I would go back to regularly, though.
I agree. Yeah, I don't know if I'd pick up a 6-pack and just at the end of a hard day, this would be my go-to type of beer. Something for special for a holiday, for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
This is
dessert, you want a beer. I think it's a good beer to match with that.
This is a great beer for a beer exchange with your buddies for Christmas.
Yes.
So everybody go get a case or a 12-pack, and then you mix match. You go around and take beers from whatever everybody bought. This is a great beer to do in a beer exchange, because you get one or two, which is about the limit for me that I'll drink of these. It's different. It is good. Like, I'm enjoying drinking it. Don't get me wrong. Based off of what I've said so far, I have enjoyed drinking it. Out of the two that we've done today, I'm definitely taking the Hershey's Porter over the Dunkin Pumpkin. Yeah. That's for sure. So yeah, what would you go with 1 to 5 sumos for the Yuengling Hershey's Chocolate Porter?
I really like it. It's not as I was expecting overly sweet, and I don't think it's overly sweet.
It's overly chocolatey, not overly sweet. And chocolate by itself is not sweet. Chocolate is bitter.
Yeah, I was kind of going in with the mindset that I might get a toothache after drinking this one, but it's not. It's an easy to drink beer. And in my mind, I'm sitting there going like, okay, I like stouts. So if I want like a dessert beer, chocolate stouts usually my way to go. So would I pick this over a stout? No. Is this something I could drink a lot? Probably not. Probably like once here or there, like for the holidays. If they would make this a seasonal beer every time around this time of year, like with the winter warmers and everything, I'd probably pick it up once a year. It's definitely not something that I'm not really going to be looking for every week whenever I need a beer or anything like that. But I think I'm leaning towards the 3.75 on this.
Ah, okay. All right. I'm going to keep it even keel and just give it a 3.
Okay.
I'm not overly high on it. I'm not overly down on it. It is a good beer. Like I said, I think this beer is best for a beer exchange where you drink one or two. You can pour it out, if you're having people over, share it. It's not a case buying beer where you buy a case and just sit there with one of your other buddies and you each drink 12 of them while you're watching football all day on Sunday. Like, it doesn't, to me, it's not that. Some people may like it more,
sure.
but I'm perfectly I'm perfectly fine with giving it a 3, just because I think it's just an average beer for me. All right, so that's a 2 for the Dunkin' Pumpkin from on the sumo scale for me and Chris, and then we went with a 3.75 from Chris and a 3.0 for me on the sumo scale for the Yuengling Hershey's Chocolate Porter. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Drink of the Week. And with everything, as always, we ask that you pick up your red Solo cups, your bottles, your cans, your shots, whatever you're drinking out of or drinking with this week, and raise them up as we give a toast to good ships and wood ships and ships that sail the seas, but the best ships are friendships, and friends will always be. Salute. All right, this week in sports, folks, we got a ton of stuff to get into. For it being mainly football-centric this time of year, there was a lot going on this week in other sports as well. I guess we'll jump into the NBA draft that took place on Wednesday night. I was flipping back and forth between that and the NXT AEW shows, so I wanted to see who were the first 3 to 4 picks based off of those names that went, and it looks like Michael Jordan is so petty that he drafted LaMelo Ball just to beat LeVar Ball for talking shit in one-on-one. And if you don't believe me, go back and listen to Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech, and that'll tell you how petty he actually is. Yeah. But I guess the big news, besides all the trades and player movement, free agency kind of sparked off last night, so we've seen a bunch of people move different teams. The Lakers made a deal to get Dennis Schroeder. They also they're going to sign Montrezl Harrell away from the Clippers, but they lose Dwight Howard to the Sixers. Like, there's people moving all over the place. Oklahoma City Thunder, you don't know who's on their roster and how many draft picks they have. The only thing harder than that is trying to solve the math problem in Goodwill Hunting. Like, I have no idea who's on their roster right now.
I heard something that they have like 13 picks the next 2 drafts or something.
It's insane. Like,
that is crazy.
It's like 13 first round draft picks over the next couple of years or something like that. It's nuts. Like, we'll see what they end up doing with all that draft capital and everything else. Like, I don't know. But, yeah, so that's interesting to see where everybody's going, how things are going to shake out. James Harden's trying to push the trade out of Houston. Apparently him and Russell Westbrook went out based off of who the owner of the Houston Rockets supports politically. We won't get into that, but just interesting to see that he's demanding a trade specifically to the Brooklyn Nets, which makes no sense if I'm Brooklyn.
Not at all. Not enough.
Not at all. I'm not giving up my entire team to bring James Harden in to play with Kyrie and KD when all 3 are going to want the ball. All 3 are going to take the last shot. Like, to me, those 3 don't work at all.
No.
And James Harden is not going to change up his game from shooting 45 times a game to taking 20 shots and going from averaging 30 points a game plus to 22 points a game. He's just not that type of player. He's not going to do it.
Or coming off the bench.
Yeah. And then Klay Thompson, thoughts and prayers go out to him. Missed all last year with a torn ACL, and it came out on draft night that he now has a torn Achilles in his right leg, so he will miss all of the upcoming season. That's got to be rough. You rehab an entire year to get back from an ACL tear in your left leg, and then now you tear your right Achilles. So who knows if we'll ever see Klay Thompson play basketball again. Achilles injuries tend to be the death knell for basketball players. That's why it's so interesting to see how Kevin Durant looks coming back from this year. But yeah, just really bad break there for Klay and Golden State.
They'll probably just tank the season and try to get a lottery pick again.
No, they drafted Wiseman, which was a good draft pick, and then they also made a deal. They brought in Kelly Oubre, so they're not going to necessarily just sit on this year. Steph's back, Draymond's back. They're making some moves. So will they be like top end of the Western Conference contending for a title? I don't think so, not without Clay. But they might make the playoffs and get a late lottery pick, mid first round selection, just because of how good Steph is and what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball wise, I think the biggest news that I saw was Robinson Cano got suspended for the entire 21 season after testing positive for PEDs, per Jeff Passan from ESPN. Cano was already suspended 82 games for previous PED bust, and somebody that was supposed to be a top-end star of the sport whenever he was younger, he's really just turned into being a PED punchline at this point in time.
Yeah, he's consistent.
Consistently on the juice is what he's consistent on.
And look at his career. He was at the Yankees at the top of his game. Then he wanted that $300 million contract and with the the Mariners, and it just
The Mariners.
hill from there.
Yeah, like he got popped in Seattle and missed 82 games, and then now the Mets sign him and he gets popped again, and now he's going to miss the entire season. Like,
Sounds like the Mets.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And if there's a season to miss, this probably isn't a bad one to miss.
True. But it's all guaranteed money, right? So he still gets paid, right?
Well, he won't get it. Yeah, so that's $24 million that the Mets could pocket. And
Yep.
he's somebody who it's the Mets though.
Yeah, it's the Mets. I saw the Pirates tweeted out this week. We have the best ballpark in all of Major League Baseball, and I tweeted back, hey, how about you try putting a Major League team on that best ballpark in Major League Baseball, because the beauty of the park has run its course.
Yeah, 20 years later.
20 years later, nobody cares about the damn park no more. We want to see a Major League team out on the field.
It's been 20 years?
Yep.
Yeah,
Almost.
2000.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think they opened up the 2001 season, I think.
2001.
So.
Yeah, 2001 season. Mm-hmm.
So,
And I think the naming rights are up for PNC Park this year too.
You might as well do the Point Park baseball. They'll fill it out more.
unreal. Obviously, college football, NFL football going on this week. Good Thursday night game. Yeah, the COVID season. I think 15 college football games were canceled again this week.
Florida State one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was gonna say Florida State and Clemson this morning just canceled because a backup offensive lineman tested positive, and they landed in Tallahassee and they couldn't agree on whether or not to play. So that game got postponed and canceled. I keep saying it every week. I don't know how we're going to get a legitimate 4-team playoff to crown a national champion because of the difference in total number of games that all these teams are playing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we'll see. The games that are on today, Bedlam's tonight, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. That'll be a good one to watch. I think my game of the week, game of the day that I'm most interested in is Wisconsin and Northwestern. We'll see. Both teams are undefeated, although Wisconsin's only played twice. That's due to COVID restrictions, them missing games. I think Wisconsin may be the real deal this year, not just your typical Wisconsin team that looks good and then gets blown out by Ohio State.
And Ohio State's playing Indiana right now. So those are 4.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. That game kicked off at noon, right?
Yep.
Hopefully Indiana shocks the world and beats Ohio State today. I would love nothing more than to rub it in the people's in Columbus's face that they lost to Indiana.
Yep, I would love that.
I hate the Buckeyes.
I think if you can't finish if you're out of the running, just quit football this season.
Just drop off the season if you can't. Yeah.
Just drop off. Yep.
So moving on to the NFL, interesting week in the NFL with some stuff that came out. DeAndre Baker, I don't know if you guys are aware of his story. The former cornerback from the New York Giants, first-round pick, got accused of armed robbery over the summertime, and it came out that the lawyer was the attorney was extorting these people, and charges weren't real, so he was cleared of everything. Listen to the timeline of this dude's past year. Like, you think 2020 has been bad with COVID, but he was a first-round draft pick in 2019, played all 16 games for the Giants, accused of 4 counts of armed robbery, cut by the Giants, cleared of all charges, opposing lawyer charged with extortion, and now he's signed with the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. So you want to talk about, like, coming up smelling roses after
he just pulled a Williamson. Williamson.
Well, he might have came up better than Williamson, because now he's not accused of 4 counts of armed robbery. But I mean, I guess if you were playing for the Jets, you would want to commit 4 counts of armed robbery. So, yeah.
Social media handed him a new one.
Yeah.
Right after that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you never want to just automatically say somebody's guilty and jump to conclusions and pound somebody, into the dirt, because you don't know all the circumstances and everything else. And it's easy nowadays to just hop on Twitter and shoot out a tweet automatically, bashing somebody. But here in this case, he really, legitimately did nothing wrong and was being extorted, and it cost him his career and everything else. So I'm glad to see him getting, a chance to play in the league again. Good for him signing with the Chiefs. I mean, we'll see. Hey, the Chiefs look like they're really trying to make a run at running this thing back to back here. So I did see ESPN put out a list ranking the top rookies, offense and defensive rookies of the year this year. Obviously, Herbert and Burrow topped the list 1-2. Justin Jefferson, Tristan Wirfs, Chase Young, James Robinson, T. Higgins, Antonio Gibson, Mekhi Becton, and Antoine Winfield Jr. Why is there no Chase Claypool on this list?
Inconsistency of the offense.
Inconsistency of the offense. They've averaged over 25 points every game this year. It's the highest scoring offense that the Steelers have ever had.
But it's been I don't want to say eking them out. It's
but he has 9 touchdowns.
He has 9 touchdowns, 7 receiving, 2 rushing, and over 500 yards receiving. How are you not on the top 10 rookies, offense or defense, with those numbers?
And what's Herbert's record with the Chargers?
That's like 2 games.
Touchdowns are touchdowns.
Just like the Steelers are number 1 in the ranking. So,
I'd rather have a touchdown than more yards.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I saw this week, as far as Steelers biased and list coming out, Chris Sims put out his top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and Ben Roethlisberger is not on that list.
I saw a stat saying he's never had a single MVP vote ever.
Never has had one MVP vote. And people are like, well, neither is Russell Wilson, and it's like, okay, but Ben's been in the league longer than Russ.
2 championships.
2 championships. Has been a part of a 15-1 team.
5,000 yards.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that he's never received 1 vote, like you said, there's some major Steeler hate. I love it though. Keep it coming. Don't put us on any list. Yeah. Cam Hayward's the worst. I don't care. All that stuff is going to be pinned up in locker rooms, and we can have at it. Let's go. Doesn't matter to me. Care less.
Let us fly under the radar. I'm okay with it.
I watch every single sports show after the Steelers win, and it's just last week they didn't even make any shows.
No,
being undefeated. They made 2 shows.
They're 9-0, the last undefeated team in the league. If the Patriots were 9-0, the Chiefs were 9-0, the Colts with Peyton Manning were 9-0. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are 9-0. That's what you're leading your stories with.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs had a bye week, and Pat Mahomes got more talk.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But like you said, keep it under the radar. Let's go. Jacksonville this week. I feel like Minshew's out. He's out.
Minshew.
No,
what is it? Luton?
Lutton. Yeah.
Lutton?
Yeah, Lutton. Listen, Ben Roethlisberger all time against the Jaguars is 5-5, I believe. Tomlin is 4-4 as a head coach. The Jaguars traditionally always play the Steelers tough, even going back to like their heyday with Mark Brunell and Keenan McCardell and Fred Taylor and
means.
like they just always play the Steelers tough. So if I'm a betting man, I may take the Jags plus 10.5. I don't think the Steelers cover because that's what the Steelers do. So I might take the points.
Wasn't it the Jags that beat them one time, all on defensive on pick sixes?
Yeah, that was 2017 season.
And they held them to like under 100 yards on offense.
Yeah, that was a regular season game.
Yeah.
Yep.
That happened. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so hopefully we go down there and get a win and keep the ball rolling, but I don't think they'll cover 10.5 just because historically how they play the Jaguars. So UFC pay-per-view tonight, stat card there, Valentina Shevchenko, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters. If you haven't seen anything before or go on YouTube and pull up some highlights of her. She is, last I checked yesterday, she is a minus $2,200 on FanDuel. Her opponent is plus 1,100. So if you have $1 to bet and you want to hop on FanDuel and lay $1 to win 1,100, if a miracle somehow happens, by all means, go ahead and do that. So pay-per-view tonight. The other thing, couple things I saw UFC-wise, Conor McGregor agreed to fight Dustin Poirier in January. That has now been signed. It is official. That'll take place, I believe, January 23rd, I believe is the date for that.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw.
I'm excited for that. I mean, Conor, whatever you may think of him, he's definitely a draw and brings eyes and ears to the sport. We'll see if he still has it. Don't know where he would go if he wins this fight, who he would fight next, because Khabib's retired. So interesting to see there, but good to note. And then last thing for UFC, Fightful MMA tweeted out yesterday a picture of Jon Jones, and he's transitioning to move up to heavyweight. He is freaking jacked. Like, I'm talking like I don't even know what you would say about it, but if this is the Jon Jones that we're going to get at heavyweight at this size, and if he's able to keep all his speed and like doesn't lose anything, dude, I don't know how he doesn't handle the heavyweight division like he's done with the light heavyweight division his entire career.
Now, with his history, is that going to be clean?
Well, I don't think you get jacked off a blow. Normally that makes you skinnier, right? Like that takes it away. Like,
well, he did do that. Plus, he did turning ball or something like that. He got caught with.
There was a few things. It wasn't just one.
Yeah, because he had all that. I forgot what it was called. Skip it. I'll figure it out. Yeah. So a couple of things.
Yeah. I did watch last week. Last Saturday night, I watched the Crawford and Crook fight. Terrence Bud Crawford, does what he does, knock people out. Hopefully, we'll get to see him and Earl Spence Jr. get at it. Spence has a fight coming up, and that's kind of where I'd like to see them go with that, to have the big name fight that boxing is lacking over the last several years. So, anything else in sports?
Yeah, is it next week? Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson.
Oh yeah, yep. Saturday night, the 28th. Mike Tyson Jr., the baddest man on the planet, is going to absolutely kill Roy Jones Jr.
See the picture of Mike Tyson with the gloves on that they're going to use? They look like big fishing gloves.
Roy Jones Jr. has regretted signing on to this fight ever since he announced that he would take this fight. Like, don't sleep on Mike. Just because Mike's 55, 56, and, you know, he's still that Mike Tyson. I'm going to eat your kids. Like, he's going to come out and want to destroy you.
He did
That's
an
what
interview
he
here
does.
recently, and man, he sounded just as intense as he did in the 80s.
Are they wearing headgear?
I don't believe so.
No.
I don't think so.
How much are they charging for this event?
That I don't know either.
I do not know.
It's gotta be. If it's not $80, I'd be surprised.
Shit.
Yeah.
We'll look for that
Yeah, I don't
stream.
know.
Oh yeah, I know. I ain't paying for it, but I'll watch the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if next Saturday night you're looking for something, for you young kids out there, go on YouTube and just search Mike Tyson and watch what that man did in a professional boxing ring.
Well, you know what's gonna come up first.
Well, hopefully.
Like the knockouts.
Hangover.
Him hitting the drums to Phil Collins in the air tonight, like, any games or anything that's catching your guys' eyes for this weekend that you're gonna want to tune into?
Just watching this Ohio State Indiana game.
Is there a score of that right now?
7-0 Ohio State.
So I do got one other thing to wrap up the sports segment, and I'm throwing it in here, although it is, I guess you can technically call it a sport now because there are professional gaming leagues. So with PlayStation, PS5, and Xbox coming out this week, I saw a thing that posted a little interaction between two guys playing Madden 21, and it's a little message exchange. It says, "You suck, bro." It says, "Sorry, I'm only 11." He goes, "My bad, G. You were really good for your age. Keep up the good work." The guy takes it back. "Mom never lets me play. She said I'm too fat. She calls me fat boy." The guy that said that he's only 11 is not 11. He's a grown-ass man. He was like, he said, "Damn, I suck at Madden so bad. I told this guy I was 11 years old."
So you got to turn the mic off and everything. You can't.
I don't like. I have not played video games in a long time, but I think the last time I did was a New Year's Eve party, which is also my birthday. So I was hammered, and my son had me playing Call of Duty at like 3:00 in the morning, and you know I died like, I don't know, 99 times, and you know I had one kill. Like they were just sniping me from every which way. Didn't know.
Kids too.
Yeah, kids, like young kids, like, so yeah, I haven't picked up the stick since, but again, I was inebriated, so you know, we'll see if those totals would improve on a sober, clean mind. But I just thought it was pretty funny, like, yo, you get beat so bad in Madden that you tell somebody you're 11, so they take it easy. That's great.
So yeah, the Call of Duty online community is pretty rough out there.
All right, well, that's this week in sports. Enjoy the games, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, kids, thanks for tuning in for episode 12 of the Dumb Marks podcast. You know where you found us, but make sure that you tell a friend and have them listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and basically wherever podcasts are available. Make sure you follow us on social media at DumbMarksPod. That's at DumbMarksPod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And you can always shoot us an email at dumbmarkspod@gmail.com. Steve, you got anything else for us this week?
We've covered a lot on this episode. Thanks to Donald and Jason for hopping us on. I guess one thing to kind of lift your spirits up after all the negative stuff that has gone on recently and being back at stay-at-home orders, at least we're not the mayor in Belgium. A mayor decorated his town in 90 X-rated Christmas lights that look like penises. So go to Barstool Sports. It is pretty funny. As I'm showing this picture on Zoom to everybody, go to barstoolsports.com, read the article. There are 90 of these things just lit up all around this town. So, poor decoration choice by this mayor. I don't think he'll get reelected after this decorating season, but it's a good article. It's funny. The visual is hilarious. So
Maybe that's
by
what
all
they do in
means,
Belgium. We don't know.
yeah, that's just it's funny. So I thought I would end the outro and end this week's pod with an enjoyable moment here before we get into the quote of the week. So does anybody got anything else before we get ready to get out of here?
No, I'm good.
Good here.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so with this being Thanksgiving, this being Thanksgiving week, and it's dropping, on Monday before Thanksgiving, and a time to reflect and give thanks for the things we have. I want to leave you guys with this: 3 things you can't recover in life: the word after it's said, the moment after it's missed, and the time after it's gone. So watch what you say, live in the moment, and never ever waste time. With that, we'll catch you around the way.